Okay, so do you want to begin?
Sure, let's begin.
I'm speaking to Martina Newberry. Martina is a writer of poetry since childhood and has published many books, including After the Earthquake, Perhaps You Could Breathe for Me, An Apparent Approachable Light, Lima Beans and City Chicken, Hunger, Not Untrue and Not Unkind, together with another poet, the Banyan and the Alder, and her newest books, What We Can't Forgive, and the soon-to-be published Late Night Radio. Since coming across her work on the internet at globalpoets.org and her video clips on YouTube, I've become a fan. I wanted to find out a little more about her as an artist and a vibrating woman who creates work that resonates with so many. So, Martina, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today.
It's wonderful to talk to you.
And yeah, I'm so glad. And I was wondering, could you use one word to describe yourself as a poet?
Accessible. I think I'm an accessible.
Accessible?
Accessible, yeah. I think I'm an accessible poet.
And why accessible?
I think because it's really important to me that people actually understand what I'm saying. I try not to couch what I say in too much hyperbole or too much, like abstract images. If I want to say something or share something, or if I want the reader to see something the way I see it, I have to speak a language that they can relate to. So I try to be accessible to them.
How did you get started as a poet?
Oh my goodness. I'm an only child, so books and notebooks have been my friends forever. And I began writing at a really young age. And
How old were you?
I was 4. And I started writing little stories,
Wow.
and funny little, I was very, very taken with Robert Louis Stevenson's Child Garden of Verses, and I memorized those and loved them. And so I've been writing little things ever since I was a kid. I would say I started actually writing poetry that I considered real poetry maybe in college. I started taking myself a little more seriously, but I never really did anything with it until very, very much later. And I took a poetry class and was mentored by the instructor there. That was the start. This being, I sort of got a kickstart to my adult writing life by this poetry workshop I took from a wonderful, wonderful man named Larry Kramer. And he was my friend.
That was my question. Yes, about who's inspired you. Do you want to say a few words about Larry? Yes.
Yes. Larry Kramer only did 2 books in his life, and he was my mentor and my very dear friend, my brother. And he taught me ways of seeing and ways of perceiving that added to the way I wrote. He never taught me how to write. He simply discussed ways of looking at things, and I loved that. It was a way of tell me how you see it and then put that on paper. And we worked together for several years until he passed. And he was a magnificent poet, just a wonderful poet named Larry Kramer. His book is called Brilliant Windows. His one book.
I'm going to write it down.
Brilliant Windows.
Yeah. I'll try and read it. Brilliant Windows. Well, you were fortunate to meet him.
Yes, I was.
On the other side of things, what was the worst thing that anyone has ever said to you about your poetry?
Grace Schulman, who is the leader of was the facilitator of the New York Y. I went to Bennington to a writing workshop there, and I had her for one of the classes. and she told me that I'd probably be more comfortable writing greeting cards. She was not surprised at the fact that I had no degree, and suggested that that was probably the reason that my poetry was not up to par, and said to me, perhaps you'd be more comfortable writing greeting cards. so I thought,
I'll tell you, if you ever wrote a greeting card, I would be a customer of greeting cards.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? There's like, you know, there's some wonderful greeting cards out there. So what the heck?
Yeah, except for the fact you know it wasn't meant as a compliment.
Oh,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'd like to get into something more to the heart of things. Okay,
Sure.
I appreciate this background, and now I want to pump your brain some more. So, reading your poetry, I always feel huge, almost an arrow pointing at the truth and taking me there. And it's not something that I fear to go with you with. I mean, how can I put this? You take me along willingly, and I know I'm going to see the truth when I'm with you. And my question is, do you ever fear speaking that truth?
Yeah, always. I don't think, Judith, I don't think that there is anything scarier than the truth. Whether I'm talking about a personal truth or something I see as a universal truth, I feel like I'm taking my clothes off in front of everybody. But it's the only way that I see to make the written word live. And so even if the subject of the poem is fictive, it's essential to me that the point is true.